Now we can go ahead and put it into our lower receiver. Some guys would go ahead and put the pistol grip on and test it, but it just takes a little bit of time to snap it into the lower receiver here, and then we can test it. And that way the gun is halfway put together for us. Pretty confident this thing should work, so I'm going to go ahead and put the body pin in. Just press that into place. Again, the teeth coming in from this side of the gearbox. Grab your pistol grip and put the wires through the larger holes on either side of the large middle hole. Again, 2 Phillips screws down the side to tighten up. There we go. Make sure you tighten those 2 screws up in there pretty good. Now for your motor, you'll notice there's a red dot right here and just a plain shiny on the other side. So the red is obviously positive, or the red wire coming out. Go ahead and hook up your connections. And then you'll need your fuse holder or your plug. Just go ahead and plug those 2 spade connectors in. Make sure you get the black to black and red to red. So, plug your battery in. Motor does in fact spin. If we just put a paper towel in front of the gun and fire it a few times, you can in fact see it blows away. So that's obviously getting good air coming out of the end. So now that we know it works, we'll just go ahead and put everything back together, starting with the plate on the bottom of the pistol grip. Tuck your wires nicely down the side, grab your cap with your 2 3mm screws, I believe they are. And then we'll set our motor mesh or gear mesh later, or motor height. Go ahead and put your mag catch in, just press it in from this side. You'll need your spring, hold catch in, put your spring in, grab your little button, and make sure the screw don't fall out. Put that into place and tighten that screw down. And that works perfect. Now you'll need one of your body pins you can go ahead and put on. Make sure it's the one with the full head and not the one with the flat spot on it when you're hex headed. Now for the buffer tube, first off we need the spacer. Don't forget this. Again, if anybody wants one of these, let me know. I will print you one. I believe they're only about $5 right now. Drop your buffer tube on. There we go. Buffer tube is tightened down. Your end cap with the little Phillips screw on the bottom. And of course our stock. Slip it on, pull your adjustment handle, slide it on. We're just going to slide that to the side for right now as we grab our hop up out of our upper receiver. Go ahead and clean off any dirt or debris. You can, however, polish the outside of your barrel, or not, doesn't really matter this outside piece as much as right here, because it might help improve air seal just because it's really smooth. But one thing I would recommend is a little notch right here, just making sure there's no dirt in there. That will deform the bucking. So just go ahead and scrape that out. So for bucking, you can wash it if you wish. This looks pretty clean. So we're going to go ahead and use some silicone grease again. And we're just going to put some on the outside right around here to help improve air seal. Just spread a nice thin coat. Now your bucking does have a little ridge on it. Make sure that goes in the notch in the bottom of the barrel. Just gently press your bucking on, just like that. Wipe off the extra grease that got pushed up. You can use silicone grease and then put your hop up on, or you can use Teflon tape like I'm going to use, because it does help improve air seal. So that's what I'm going to do. So just cut yourself a nice little piece, and particularly you want to wrap it around the bucking first, just around the end of the bucking. Pull it nice and tight, and then onto the barrel and help get the best air seal. And then feel where your nub is supposed to go, and just gently, you know what, before we do that, we're just going to put a little bit of silicone grease around the inside here just to help seal it better, because we want to make sure we get as good a seal as we can. Alright, so there's where our nub needs to go. So make sure your hop up is all the way off, and then gently slide that into place. Now what you can do is you can put it on a little bit of hop and then look down through the barrel to make sure the nub is coming directly down from the top, which will make sure you get a perfect hop every time. So just center the nub where it needs to be, which is about right there, and go ahead and put your retaining clip back in. Your retaining clip is keyed, so it only goes in one way. And there's this little brass piece that slides down in, help keep your hop up centered on the barrel. Slide that into place, and then get yourself some more Teflon tape. Wrap some around the edge of the hop up unit like that, and then wrap down onto the barrel. That'll make sure you get a good tight air seal. Now sometimes outer barrels will be, it should look something like that, but sometimes inner barrels will be a slightly smaller inner diameter than the outer inside of the outer barrel. So you can wrap Teflon tape in a spiral up to the barrel, or sometimes in some major cases wrap electrical tape up through. And what that does is it helps, if you wrap it smooth, it helps keep the barrel centered in the outer barrel to stop any vibrations or anything. But I tried on this gun and it just pulled right off, so I know it's pretty good. So go ahead and put your hop up spring on. Just slightly turn it as you put it on so as not to damage your perfectly good air seal there. And you're ready to put it right back into your gun. If you're not going to be using your gun for quite a long period of time, you might want to turn the hop up all the way off just to keep your bucking from getting deformed over time. So now that we got that done, we can move on to assembling the gun together. You'll need your 2 wires coming up the side of your gearbox here. Make sure they get in under the lip there of the lower receiver, or upper receiver, sorry. And there we go. There's a little notch right underneath the hop up where the hop up goes in. You probably can't see it, but you'll notice it on your gun if it's wired to the front, which most guns have it, whether they're wired to the front or not. Just run your wires both around the same way of the hop up, and then insert one of your wires into there. Slide it in. May take a little fiddling around to get your wires through. This wire can be a little bit of a pain to get in because it has a kink in it. It's sort of stiff and don't want to come out. But as you can see, we're getting it through. There we go. Pop up the top, and then grab both your wires and pull as you push the upper or lower receiver into place. Make sure the wires aren't caught on anything. Pull your charging handle back. As you push back, Go on the upper receiver, and then pop it into place. Pull all the slack out of the wires, and we're ready to put our other body pin in, the one with the flat-sided head. You'll see which way that goes in, because there's only one way it can go in. And then you'll need your hex-headed screw again. Snug that down, don't go crazy. This is a plastic body. Most metal bodies have just the pins just press in instead of having a screw from each side. Then you'll need your fuse holder and plug. I actually found that the fuses sometimes like to fail, and all the time blowing fuses when it's not necessary, so sometimes I'll just remove the fuse holder and just cut these wires and solder the plug right past the spades here, because you still need the spades if you ever want to take your gun apart again, which you probably will. And just I usually swap them out with Dean's connectors, as they work a lot better. But for now, this gun is mostly still stock, so I'm letting it how it is. Put your wires into place here, stuff them in there. You can add a zip tie if you don't like having the wires spread everywhere. There we go. Our gun is, for the most part, put back together. Okay, it's all put back together, but there's a few things we need to do yet. First off, check if it works. It does work. Auto is, which is pretty good for the most part. Semi and safe. So that's working. Now you might be able to hear on the camera, but there's a little bit of a high-pitched squeal. That's the motor too tight of a mesh, so you'll need a flat screwdriver to adjust this on this particular one. Some of the other ones use a small hex or Allen key to adjust it. So I just loosened that screw on the bottom of the pistol grip here. Probably about as good as we're going to get this one. And go ahead and remove all the extra grease from this. So that is basically the cleanup of an M4. It pretty much applies for most M4 platforms, unless it's some for a custom deal, but that's pretty much it. There's a few other things you could do to improve your gun, but most of them would you'd need aftermarket parts or just upgraded parts. Probably the biggest thing would be the air nozzle, to get a little bit more FPS and get an inner O-ring air nozzle, as well as a one-piece cylinder head. That would definitely help compared to those stock ones with the plastic cylinder head and a brass tube. That's not the best combination because it usually starts to leak around the brass tube, but for this gun it's probably going to be just as good. As far as accuracy and range, definitely flat hop it. If you can put an R hop on it, that'd even be better, but flat hops are usually fairly good. They're easy to tune in, whereas R hops are a little bit harder and take a lot of fiddling to get right, but flat hops are really easy. I believe there's a couple videos on YouTube on how to do that. I might make one in the future, but for now, I'm just going to let this in pretty much stock. And that is how you disassemble an M4 Airsoft and put it back together. So if you haven't already, check out my other videos. I did a Powder Extreme snowmobile build, or rebuild, I should say. I did, while I'm in the process of doing a motorized bike build for with an 80cc engine on it. It's not done yet. I'm still haven't ordered the cylinder yet, so I need a few things to do there. I need piston rings and a cylinder and maybe a new piston, not sure, but I haven't ordered those yet, but I will get them ordered, and we'll have more videos on that. If you like my videos, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to like and subscribe.